It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics, and Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
End of April.
We're looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah, you like the rainforest in the background? I have no idea where that's from. I should have looked, and I didn't have time.
This is the last day of April.
Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. We have a special guest with us in the wings. We'll get him on in a minute.
Good.
If Donald Sterling comes up, just run the disclaimer right now before a multi-billionaire
anybody
sues me. Right. Yeah.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
Okay, we disclaim any and all things.
Yes.
Well, how you been? How was your weekend?
I'm good. It was fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. How about you?
I don't know. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you watched The Daily Show.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts.
I didn't do it.
Obviously need an audio
I didn't
engineer.
do it.
You watch Comedy Central at all? You watch Jon Stewart?
Every now and then.
Every now and
Yeah.
then. Well, he's got some guy that does these kind of goofy reports who apparently now is going to have a show on HBO. And so I was watching ads for it, and it's a weekly show about politics. And he's like, yeah, if something happens Monday, we'll cover it the next Sunday. If something happens Tuesday, the next Sunday. If something happens Sunday, we'll cover it that day, unless it happens after such and such a time, in which case we'll do it the following Sunday. And I'm kind of like, that's kind of like our show. I mean, we're behind on tournaments because we did the show last week was, all about the women and stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, and I didn't have time to update the crawl because I was at the Cub game, right? So, I mean, the crawl's updated now. I do not have all the results from the scratch yet. If I get them before the end of the show, then we'll read them for you. But there's the DARTSLIVE results are up there now. I had to go down, I think, to top 16 to get an American.
Do we have an update on Beat Bill?
On Beat Bill, we do, and I should have that.
Oh, okay.
But the thing on Beat Bill is the picks. Your picks have to be emailed to darttalk@gmail.com by tomorrow at 12 Eastern, 11 Central. He's given away a lot of money already. Actually, beating Bill doesn't, no
Isn't
offense,
that difficult?
Bill, but he's been getting beat, fairly regularly.
Like a drum?
Well, hopefully not like the Rangers. If the Rangers lose tonight, I think Bill's going to be in a bad mood. But if you guys want to get in on it and win some gift certificates to the DartZone.com, all you have to do.
I thought he was in Michigan.
He's a Rangers fan.
Okay.
This is the thing that confuses me, and when you start meeting people from all over the country, I mean, guys from Jersey. But he's a Cowboys fan.
Right.
And he explained it to me 3 times, and I keep forgetting exactly. I think it was like his dad was a Cowboys fan or something. So he's a Cowboys fan, even though he's from Jersey and he lives in Michigan, which, it's
And
probably
he's a Ranger fan.
better than. Well, he's a Mets fan. So he's 2 out of 3 for New
Right.
York.
Well,
I don't know if
Texas
he's
doesn't have a
Knicks
hockey
fan,
team.
But yeah, I don't know. As long as he's not a Pistons fan. Although the Dead Wings are done. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I got hockey on my mind. I can't believe there are 3 Game 7s tonight, and I'm not watching any of them. So you guys in the chat room, feel free to give us updates. What was the deal? What was I supposed to talk about? Oh, I went to oh, that's okay. We'll get John on.
Are we on track?
No. We'll get John on here in a minute because I had this semi-epiphany, right? A friend of Jill's had a 40th surprise birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Fogo de Chao in Rosemont by the airport. And it just so happens to be in this very strange, it looks like an industrial park, but actually it's like a strip mall full of these big, huge bars.
Okay. I've just driven by it on the highway. I've never been in the
Well,
area.
apparently it's only 2 years old. So after Fogo de Chao, we were going to go to Toby Keith's I Love This Bar, which is a huge thing. And apparently not only there was a cover, but there was a line of like 50 people. So we were like, oh, we're not going to go there. So we went to this Hofsbrau microbrewery, where it was like a real German beer hall with the long tables and everything.
Yes, I've been to one in Cincinnati.
Okay, and they had a band up there, and people, I mean, there were a lot of people drinking, but there are women on the tables dancing. There are people like, this band was playing like, I don't know, Peter Frampton. I mean, it was just very strange. But the girls, drunken girls, are up there dancing with the singers and stuff, and they're on like a stage that's about 3 feet high. And the entire time I'm there, and it was weird. It's like if you order a shot, the waitress paddles you in the butt with a paddle like know, gym class or something from back in the day. Well,
sorority
apparently
or fraternity.
It's not
one
like
of the two.
yeah. Like, thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's like laughing, and then one couple got mad, the girl got mad, or the guy. I don't know. I just couldn't believe this was going on. But the whole time I'm there, I'm like looking at this stage, thinking, why don't we put a dart match up there?
While this is going on?
Well, if you had the music going, everybody would just be yelling at the dart players, and it would be sort of like the Premier League.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
everybody hoisting their big old mugs. And
this is the disconnect I see with our sport is like, and this was kind of an upscale, semi-yuppie suburban crowd. And for the Chicago people that know Rosemont, it's right across the street from where they have the bull shooter, like at the end of the month, Memorial Day weekend, or the end of, in a month now. And I'm just thinking, these people would all have a great time if we just, like, walked in there with a standard and, people with dart shirts and, had a collar and all this stuff because they're drunk. I mean, they by the time they figured out what was going on, they'd be like, oh, let's root for this.
They'd give them something else to cheer for.
I'm telling you, it was like the audience that we want is busy doing something else. And here's the other thing that kills me. Like, your homework was supposed to be watch Game of Arms, right?
Game of Arms.
Well, John's sitting there patiently. We should get John Lewis on here.
Well, if you want to.
So he can join in the conversation since we're just babbling on. Anyway.
Can I say one real quick thing?
Yeah.
Bill would like to point out that our facts are wrong. He has won more than he has lost.
Oh, in the
in the Beat the Bill, but that we did not.
He has been paying off.
We did not say that he had lost more than one. We just said it wasn't that difficult to beat the Bill.
Well, I don't know if you want to say that. Did I say that or did you say that?
We both said that.
Oh, really?
But I don't think that wasn't our point. Our point was he's not getting anything for winning.
Well, that's the thing that's why he's like the best sponsor in darts.
So even though he's won more than he's lost, the amount that if he's won 51% of the time, he's still giving out a lot of gift cards.
Yeah, the VIG is pretty high.
Yeah,
the VIG for Bill is pretty high. But here's the deal: just if you're listening to the show, beat Bill. All you have to do is pick every Premier League match, and if you're watching, we've got them listed down at the bottom on the ticker there.
He's
pick 65%.
A winner for,
he's 65%. That should be a winner if you're betting NFL.
You should be.
No, but the deal is you email your picks. You have to pick every match, pick the winner of every match, and take a guess at the highest score of any player for tomorrow during the Premier League. And if you do better than Bill, you win.
Yes.
It's that simple. You get gift certificates to
gift card.
I forget now because it's confusing if it's $25 or $50 or whatever. Right. But email your picks to darttalk@gmail.com.
Right now you have a 35% chance of winning a gift certificate.
Because Bill's winning basically 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think his first week went real well, but and you guys, I have to have them by noon Central tomorrow. Bill's already sent his picks in, and he posts them on his Facebook page. But if you want to win some dart stuff, this is the way to do it.
All right.
Well, now we have a guest that I've wanted to have on the show for a while, and we'll have to ask him if he's even been on. So let's get him on here. We have, from the Elite Dart Players Association, we have John Lewis from Baltimore, Maryland. John, can you hear us?
Absolutely. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
How you doing, John?
We're going to show your picture here so everyone can see you. Why don't you go ahead and ask who he is, since you don't know.
Do us a favor, do our listeners a favor, and me as well, since I don't know who you are. But give us a little roundabout on who you are, what do you do, where you live.
Well, I live halfway between Baltimore and Washington. Working my day jobs, I work for Merrill Lynch. I'm a financial advisor and have been for about 25 years. But a few years ago, I started the Elite Dart Players Association of America in order to basically get everybody together and try to bring the PDC style events back to the U.S., but in a more controlled way. One of the things that I looked at kind of what the PDC tried to do, and I looked at the demographics of where everybody was and where they're located, and trying to figure out the difference between the Minuteman League and the PDSL New York and the ASL of Philadelphia and WADA down here in Washington, Baltimore, the regional leagues, the Moose International, and looking all over, and then even looking out west, although not as familiar, although I did live in Utah for a while, and there's a huge soft tip league out there. I was able to play a lot with the folks out at a little bar called Club DJs. That's because they're Mormon. They don't play with sharp points. Unless you're a survivalist, and then they have everything.
Oh, okay.
Nothing like some harpoon darts.
That's right. But so what I did is I actually sent Barry Hearn an email saying, here's what I like what you guys are doing. Here's what I saw that you tried to do in the U.S. And here's where I see where you went wrong. And here's my idea to make it better. And I figured I would get an email back at some point in the future saying, thank you for your information. We'll take it under advisement. Thank you for watching and have a great day. What I got was a phone call from Barry Hearn 20 minutes after that saying, I'm coming to New York. Will you please meet me? And so I went to New York and met, and that's how Elite was born, and slowly has become what it is now, which is a little over 2,300 members strong. Although it's still evolving, because I actually posted something the other day on Facebook. I actually reposted my strategic vision for 2012 to 2014, and a lot of things in there have come true, not solely on my efforts, but the collective efforts of everyone in the U.S. Everything from New World Dart to NAPTA to PDSL to Anthony Eugenia and Dave Irete and Charles Peterson with Red Eye Rhino. There's just so much going on, and I even have to give a shout out to Dave Holmes, because the folks from Canada have really stepped up, and actually I really think they kind of had a leg up on everything that's going on.
Have you played darts for a long time?
I didn't start playing darts until 2005. I got talked into coming out to a bar after I got divorced, and they're like, come on out, let's go get drunk. And I'm ex-Navy. I've probably spilt more beer than most people have drank, so I don't do a lot of drinking anymore. But they said, well, come on out and play darts, and started playing and just fell in love with it. It's competitive. It's fun. It's exciting when you understand it. I think the average player, or should the average bar goer, much like what Steve was saying about the place in Chicago, I think if Steve's absolutely right, if they saw the level of play that our top folks are capable of, we would get a following.
Okay, we're up against the first break, but when we come back, I want to start touching on. Let's you can kind of mull this over during the break, John. Let's one by one go over some of the things that he just briefly mentioned, like the little bullet points of things that have been going on the last couple of years, and talk about those for a little bit. I think that'd be edifying for everybody. Okay.
All right.
So stay with us, John. Go ahead and mute your mic until the music's over. You listen to Dart Talk with Steve Pounceillon, Mystery Mark, and John Lewis of the Elite Dart Players Association, and we'll be right back.
Misinterpreted or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. We have with us from Elite Dart Players, John Lewis. Hi, John. Before the break, we kind of went down the laundry list of, let's call it new stuff that's been happening off and on for the last couple of years. And I kind of want to get your take on some of the things that have gone on. And, you know, it's kind of funny. You know, you had a strategic vision, but it's been implemented by, you know, a whole assortment of organizations and people and stuff that haven't really been under your control. So let's start with what? Let's start with Major League Darts. And this is not, you know, to criticize anybody. I'm just kind of curious, you know, what's your take on, you know, how the event was conceptually and how it was executed, and kind of if you thought anything went wrong or could have been done better or something like that.
I'd say Brian had a very good idea, but at that point in time when Major League Darts was really getting into its heyday, and again, this is just my opinion, and again, my perception from 3,000 miles away, because I know Brian's out in California, but it was at a point in time in the darting community where there was still a lot of just bubbling frustration around the U.S. of where do we take this? What do we do? How do we make this happen? People were getting very disenchanted by the ADO. Not that they were doing anything wrong. It just became stagnant. And I've played ADO events, I've played ADA events, and I like them all from individual concepts. But I think the overall problem, and I even had the same problem on the East Coast, trying to get things running and moving and trying to basically unhinge old habits, and which is very difficult to do.
Steve's been saying that for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you talk about old habits, John, what kind of habits are we talking about here? Are we talking about just sort of like the darters being somewhat uninvolved as far as like advocating for changes that you and I think would improve the game overall?
I don't think it was that they didn't want to get involved. I think everybody was very willing to get involved, but there was a lack of leadership, and trying to coordinate, trying to get people on the same page, and it's okay to have dissension as long as it's constructive, because as a CEO of a business, if you have a lot of people only following the rules, that's great. They're following exactly what you're telling them to do. That doesn't mean that everything that you have in your vision is perfect. And if you say, okay, how's everything going in Chicago? How's everything going in New York? How's everything going in San Diego? And everybody's just telling you, oh, it's great. Everything's fine. No problems. And then they hang up the phone and say, oh, this is bullshit. We don't want to do this. We don't want to make this happen. Or I wish it was a different way. As a leader, you need to be able to say, throw it all at me, because I cannot make a viable decision. I cannot make strategic plans to be able to share if everybody's just telling me everything's rosy. And I think there was a complacency that that just was overriding the industry. And I think we've kind of come out of it still in pieces. I still think that there's a lot of consolidation, a lot of coordination and cooperation that still needs to happen.
Okay, getting back to Major League Darts, it seemed to me that Major League Darts was going fine, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, it just stopped. They never had their year-end event in Nashville. I never really heard actually what happened with that. And then it just sort of, disappeared. And I'm not sure I'm not sure why. I don't think I ever heard like a definitive answer on that. Did you?
I never
hear
did.
anything on that?
No, I never heard anything.
Okay, so Major League Darts kind of like had its, like you said, its heyday.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was popular, especially in a couple of places, and then it kind of, I don't know, disappeared. I'm not sure if that was viewed by some as competition to like the ADO regional system or something like that. I never really got a definitive answer on that. I know if you're trying to prepackage events and you're running them all over the country and they're all run by different people, if you don't have like, a pretty tight handle on the guidelines, you're asking for trouble.
Sure.
Right? The only complaints I heard was it was so popular in one place that people were leaving, during the knockout because they'd already been there 8 hours and they didn't want to stay another 4. I mean, that's a long day to be hanging out, in a bar on a Saturday.
Because there were so many people there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or because, people were kind of like, during the round robin, people are taking long breaks in between matches, stuff like that. So what came after MLD in your mind there, John?
After Major League Darts, I would say probably, and although it was going on at the same time, I think it didn't really catch wind, but that would probably be the PDSL.
Now, the PDSL, to my mind, is just like an independent collection of singles leagues that are all done in the same format, so it's uniform. And they have, and I believe this is the double cork one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so you have a standard format that everyone plays, and a standard play or a place to put your statistics in and stuff like that. And from what I've heard, that's been relatively successful. It's just kind of a small scale league endeavor.
Correct, and it's very regionalized, but I think it's starting to pick up because the way I think it's Adam Sherlock is the guy that runs that for in the Boston area, and then Anthony picked it up for the New York area. But again, it comes down to getting the awareness out, and obviously shows like yourself. I'm trying to write. I've written a few articles for the Examiner, the Washington Examiner, which is now Examiner.com. So I've got, I think, 41 articles on there right now. And even that, there's so much more I could do given the time, or at least being able to leverage some assistance.
Okay. So is it PDSL?
PDSL.
Yeah. that's the professional developmental singles league, I think is what it is. Is that right?
Yeah, long format 501.
Yeah, and there's been other like singles leagues I've heard of that people are starting out where people are playing long format 501. I mean, I think it's a popular format. I think anybody that goes on the internet and watches like the Premier League on YouTube or watches any of the the PDC stuff that's available immediately wants to try it because it looks like so much fun. And from the Darts Live standpoint, I mean, because that's the other place I think that streams their stuff regularly. I'm not sure how much people enjoy watching it. That's more of a family friends thing. Everybody wants to root for the guy they know or root against the guy they don't like or something like that. I'm not sure if it's as effective as far as generating viewers and new players as the PDC is. But I'll tell you, I mean, this bar I was at in Rosemont, I mean, if they would have plopped a Darts Live machine up there and had people wanging it and a big screen so you could kind of see what was going on from the back of the bar.
People would have been cheering.
Sure, why not?
People would have been paying attention for sure.
They're cheering for, waitresses paddling drunks and a guy that's singing like, Peter Frampton without the wah, 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 wah. I mean, it sounded terrible. I couldn't believe this.
When I was at one
played.
of those, there was an accordion playing, and it was, it was.
I mean, I just imagine like the guitar player telling people, "Yeah, I play a little guitar," and they're like, "Are you in a band?" And he's like, "Not really." I mean, I can't imagine. They were wearing lederhosen and stuff too. I just couldn't believe these guys. Yeah. The Toby Keith bar that was something else. I mean, that was like I could just see fights breaking out over people pointing too much in cricket. Pop quiz, John. What takes more skill, cricket or 501?
501.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of guy.
Another guy on your side.
That's the guy we like having on the show.
I mean, John, that answer you can stay.
No, I mean it's
you might have
funny.
You might have been off the show in a heartbeat if.
There are people that I swear to God, there are people that listen to the show that just want to disagree with me no matter what. I mean, not like I'm Obama or something, but I mean, I swear to God, I mean, they just common sense will tell you.
No, but that's not.
And people still like.
I don't.
We put a poll out there, and cricket won the poll at least up to now.
I agree that there's people that want to disagree with you just to disagree with you, but there are a couple people out there that still truly believe that cricket is tougher.
That the Earth is flat.
Yeah, and Columbus never existed.
We'll get somebody on here to discuss that at some point. Maybe next week we could do it. Okay, so PDSL, MLD, and then what came after that, John?
Let's see. After that, well, that was going on about the same time as the ASL in Philadelphia. And the ASL has actually a very profitable business model, so I really take my hat off to Anthony Marchi.
Who's profiting?
Well, it all gets put back to the league. But they're able to run tournaments and able to run events without having to shell out money up front because it feeds itself.
Well, okay.
So I like that model.
So what kind of the model for that is, let's say I'm a league player in the ASL and it costs me X dollars to play a season. How much of that am I actually playing for if I go to a tournament?
That I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but I've seen the. I've had discussions with Anthony about it, and it's because my head was in a different place. I didn't really adopt it, but the initial goal was like if I could get Anthony Eugenia, Anthony Marchi, and myself to get it all together, I think we could get something pretty powerful.
Well, as far as like a league system that feeds people into tournaments, right? I mean that's basically what like the NDA is right now in Vegas. The NDA Team Dart is going on. It's like a 10-day tournament. It's probably the biggest dart tournament in America every year.
I'm so glad you brought up NDA because I've tried to reach out to them and I've gotten zero response from their board, their committee, their president, whatever it is. I like how they're structured because they have a professional business behind what they do. And that in itself is a large part of what we are still missing.
Yeah, because they're generating profits for themselves, and they're kind of protecting the vendors. I don't see that they do much for the players. I mean, it's easy to have a successful business model where I am going to extract every dime I can from every dart player that I come in contact with. Yeah, sure, that's a great business model. It's just not good for darters. Like my understanding of the ASL is they're taking all that money and eventually it's coming back to the players. Now it may go, their expenses to run a tournament may run, whatever, right? I mean, to get the dart hall or I have no idea. We don't have ASL here, and I've never seen a tournament like an ASL tournament. Are they having like one a year or two a year, or is it local? Is it national?
It's local. They have, but it's there's like a West Philly versus East Philly, and there's even. It's almost like the Hatfield McCoys sometimes, but they do a really good job working together. But they're very competitive with each other. So like when you go to the Ray Chesney tournament, those guys will all be there. And but then they have a few other venues.
I don't see them winning, but
that's all right. They're all there and they're supporting.
I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. Well, no, this ties into this Game of Arms thing and a long conversation with George Silverstein, because he's convinced that this is what you need. You need this, like, East Philly versus West Philly and Pennsylvania versus New York and New Jersey and stuff like this. And that's what this Game of Arms thing was supposed to be. They had like 4-person teams from all these different cities, and it was arm wrestling.
Right.
The matches take like 40 seconds. They're going to have like 4 matches in an hour-long show. So they're following this guy around. He's talking about his felonies. There's this one guy, I've had 18 beers today and all this stuff. And they get this crowd around the table when they actually start arm wrestling. And there's like 15 people. It's family and friends, but they're all screaming at the top of their lungs, and the camera cuts in, or the camera closes in, so it looks like it's actually a crowd, when actually it isn't. We have more people at a local blind draw.
Right.
It's just that we don't shout stuff when somebody's trying to hit a double. And maybe we should all start shouting. Maybe we all need to start being the loudest people.
You want a camera following people around going, I've had 18 beers a day to promote your darts?
Well, no. Although I could think of a few players that would say that.
Sure.
That would say, well, I started out drinking at 7 this morning, so I don't know, it's 3 o'clock, but I still feel good.
I'm in perfect form.
I mean, if that's what it is, if that's what we have to work with, then that's what we'll show.
Yeah.
You don't have to put perfection out there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, part of drama, of any, Law and Order or, whatever, any show you watch, part of the drama is watching somebody make an obvious mistake where they're the only person that knows it's not a mistake.
Okay.
Right?
I would agree with that.
Like the slasher films, where the girl, wants to open the closet door and everybody screams, don't open the door. Right. I mean, that's part of human nature. That's part of what makes compelling, viewing, compelling television. And, John, let me ask you this, and we'll get on to, the other stuff. But what can we do collectively to get darts on TV? Because I'm convinced that that's the one hurdle that we need to cross in order to elevate this game and make it profitable for everybody.
Well, here's my pencil outline on that. Okay. And it's something that I've been toiling around in my brain, and I've been talking with Dave Irede about it and trying to figure out this model. But basically, in talking with the PDC, when they broke away from Ollie Croft and were trying to get their professional darts going, obviously Barry Hearn had dollars to throw at that. But getting this on television, and here's some of the legwork that I've done. Did you have DirecTV or any of these cable?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Any Saturday, any Sunday morning, what do you see on there?
Oh, you see a bunch of garbage. Right. I have no idea what it costs to get your garbage up there, or to get our garbage up there. But I understand from basically that Barry Hearn doesn't want to buy time, and that's where we're at. We're at the point where we need someone to give us money to buy time for us to put an independent production out there in front of everyone. That's an incredibly expensive investment
Yes.
right off the
No.
top with no guarantee of anything.
It's actually less expensive than you would think.
What have
I've
you
been
talked
talking
about?
with the Outdoor Life Network. I've talked with RFD, which is the Rural Free Delivery, which is kind of rural TV. A lot of bluegrass, a lot of tractor shows, a lot of horse shows.
Farmer, what is it? What's the farmer dating site now? Or
Yeah, farmersonly.com.
Farmersonly.com. They have a nice jingle.
They do, and most of them look like dart players on there. So, but the airtime for a half-hour spot you can get for $900.
$900.
Yes,
That's it.
that's it. Because you can get what's called remnant space on some of these areas. So where you've got like the Shark vacuum cleaner on 27 different freaking channels.
It's 3:30 in the morning when.
Exactly. I would take a 4:30 a.m. spot if that's what it took,
Yeah.
People
just to
DVR
get
it.
these things produced.
Yeah, people DVR it. I mean, all you need
Right.
to do is get something out there that's watchable,
Yeah.
and take it from there. So
Right.
okay, if it's 900 a week, then if we get $9,000, that gives us 10 weeks. But you still
Right.
have to put the production together.
Right, and that's where some additional monies would have to come in. But we're so used to, when we do these tournaments, it's whatever's paid in is what gets paid out minus a little bit for whatever expenses.
Sometimes it's
are
more
out
than a
there.
little bit, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's the problem for the players.
correct.
That's the problem where you're not going to get a lot of people going out to a tournament when only 3 people are going to break even.
Right, that's true.
There's other ways to address that, but it seems to me, if darts is on TV, more people will play. More people are inclined to go to a
Probably,
tournament.
yeah.
More people
Correct.
will practice. More people will try to raise the level of their game so they can, get up there.
Right.
And kind of that's.
But if you got to start out at 3:00 in the morning on,
Doesn't matter. Oh,
you gotta
I
get
DVR
the-
Oh yeah,
stuff
no,
at
that's the
3
Well, you gotta
broadcast
get people to
time.
know that
You
it's
don't
out
start. You don't do them live.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, you got to get people to know that it's out there.
Well,
Correct.
Well, we could. Okay. Where are we on a
Of course,
break?
that would be our job. We're ready for a break anyway.
Okay. Hold that thought, John. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back to figuring out how we can solve the problems of the world in, I don't know, 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Are you listening
Perfect.
to Dart
30
Talk
minutes
with
or
Steve
less.
Concealman, Mystery Mark, and John Lewis of the Elite Dart Players Association, and we will be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the second half. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor.
Hold on, let me try that again. Stay in the zone.
Wow. See, we're gonna have to do something about you, man. You're too distracted with the score of the Toronto
I had
game.
nothing to do with that.
And the Rangers are winning
Last I know, 2-1.
2-1. Okay. There's a lot. to be honest, I would have loved to have mailed in the show or done it early just to watch the hockey, because I'm going to watch the Colorado-Minnesota game, and I don't even know who to root for.
I don't either.
I mean, we had a hard time with Minnesota, and we had a hard time with
we
Colorado.
We had a really hard time with Colorado, but
then,
do we have?
So let's root for
Minnesota. Do we have
Minnesota.
home ice advantage?
No.
Either way?
No.
Neither way.
Yes.
If
we do against Minnesota.
That's what I'm saying. You got to root.
So we got to root
that.
for Minnesota.
You have to root for that.
Sorry, pressing duties there, John.
Yeah.
That's all right. Go Caps.
Did he say go Cubs?
Go Caps.
No, Capitals.
They fired their whole front office.
They cleaned house.
They cleaned house.
Absolutely.
We'll take Ovechkin. We'll straighten him out. You give us Ovechkin and pay 2/3 of his salary, and we'll
take him off your hands.
Yeah. I don't know about the rest of that.
I don't think he needs straightening out. But
anyway, so we're talking about TV. We're talking about and let's get John back here. I mean, John, this is where I'm coming from. I mean, I think that darts, whether it's played by Americans or played by Brits or whatever, I think it's compelling. I think it's far more compelling than a lot of the stuff that I see, when I'm channel surfing. In fact, if you look at ESPN, they've been pushing soccer more and more and more and more and more. And soccer's never caught on here.
Okay, first of all, you're biased. Okay.
I am not biased.
Yes, you are.
Totally objective.
No.
I am.
But
I'll watch curling.
How do you... What I'm saying is though it's compelling to you, but you have to make
it's not compelling to me. It is compelling.
Okay.
Period. It's if you present this stuff correctly, it's compelling to somebody that doesn't even play darts. The same way the NBA is compelling when it's a 1-point game with a minute left, and you don't know anything about a pick and roll or who's winning. It's just compelling when you hear the crowd screaming and you see the guys competing, and you hear the announcers and you they convey the fact that it's pressure. If you baseball. Look at the World Series. It's a 9th inning, and there's all these people screaming, and there's one guy at home plate stepping out of the box, playing with his glove, and the pitcher's kicking at the rubber, and there's 7 guys standing around with gloves. Right? Nothing is going on, and it's compelling.
Okay, but
I mean, of course it's compelling.
It's compelling because you know the sport. If I watched highlight and I've never watched it, there was a bunch of people yelling and screaming, I don't think I would get
That's where commentators come in to explain to you what's going on.
But in baseball, I know what's going on. In soccer, I know what's going on. In darts, I know what's going on.
Soccer's about as easy a sport to understand as there is. Hey, ball went in net, goal, yay. But what makes it compelling is the dude from Mexico who's like, go!
Yeah, but...
And he does it for 45 seconds.
Okay.
I mean, it's compelling.
So, but you're watching soccer... You're watching soccer only to hear that guy. Because if you don't hear that guy, and he probably does it only, twice a game?
Well, it depends on the game. But,
yes,
that's
so you're actually watching just to hear the guy say goal for 45 seconds?
Okay, here's the deal. Part of the reason soccer doesn't catch on in America is that there isn't enough scoring.
Because nobody plays it.
There's plenty of scoring in a 5-on-1 game. There's scoring every 7 seconds. Every 7 seconds there's scoring, and every minute is a pressure shot. And it goes on and on and on and on, and the pressure builds and builds and builds.
But if you've never played the game, that's not going to be... How do you know that's compelling?
I've never curled. I find curling compelling. I've never played NBA basketball.
You've played basketball.
Okay, I have played basketball. I mean, okay, that's a bad example.
You've
what
played
sport
baseball,
have I not played?
You've played football. You've played tennis.
Okay, I haven't played lacrosse. They're showing lacrosse on TV now. Do you find lacrosse compelling? You can't even see the players' faces, and yet you can kind of understand what's going on. I don't think.
Do I find it compelling?
Yeah,
not really.
Lacrosse is huge on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's been huge for a long time.
But I guess my point is you find it compelling.
Point? You're anti-darts now?
No, you find it compelling.
Yes.
But you have to make but you're biased. We have to make. How do we make it compelling?
Look, that's like saying I think Jon Stewart's funny, and you don't think he's not, and you say he's not funny. He's still funny.
Every 7 seconds in darts doesn't make it compelling. How do you make it compelling to people that don't know, that are just going to tune in because we told them to? We got to make it compelling.
How do you make anything compelling? How do you make NASCAR compelling? There's a bunch of guys
Nothing
making left turns.
Is compelling about NASCAR.
They're waiting for a wreck.
Nothing
Everybody's
is compelling about NASCAR.
waiting for a car wreck.
That's not true. The people that really watch NASCAR actually know what's going on.
Yeah, it's shocking.
It's crazy.
Jeff Dodson, who's actually our music director, is not watching the show because he decided to go and practice tonight. But he's into NASCAR. I mean, people are into this.
Right.
But, I mean, part of the thing that makes it a sport is the ability to follow it, which is part of the reason we do this show. It's hard to follow darts if all you do is get a magazine every, 10 weeks.
Right.
And if you want a NASCAR wreck, just look at Peter Wright.
Okay. He's been playing really well.
He's been playing really well, but the compelling part of him is what he's going to wear.
Oh, nice.
but I mean, I was.
But it's the character behind it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I forget who I was saying, but there was this one. He was a politician talking about how the Republicans needed to get, people with tattoos and without tattoos. I mean, Peter Wright got fans that are into, body art.
Okay.
And a lot of people are into body art.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like when I grew up. I mean, the only people that had tattoos were people in the Navy. And they were anchors and a heart with mom on it. I mean, that was pretty much it.
I was at the tattoo convention in Baltimore last weekend.
How was that?
Did you
Amazing.
get one?
I did not. I am ink-free after all my years in the Navy, but I love the art.
Some of it.
So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, some of it's incredibly intricate. But we're getting off topic here now. So Mark is basically saying that darts is not compelling.
No. I'm saying for you to say darts is compelling is
Yes.
obvious because you're very biased. You've been
I
playing
am not
darts.
biased. It's an opinion. It's like saying I think Stephen Wright is funny. Just because you don't think he's funny doesn't mean he ain't.
All right.
Okay, it's a semantic point maybe, but
Anyway.
ask John. John, is Stephen Wright funny?
No.
I like Stephen Wright.
See, there you go. See,
Are darts compelling?
what do you think?
To
John?
me,
Well, in general, like your personal experiences aside, do you think that darts would be compelling television in America?
yeah, absolutely, I think it would. And so, like going back to the soccer guy that yells goal for 45 seconds, how that came to the front was the snippets, those 5 to 7 second pieces.
That's what I'm asking. How do you get it compelling to everybody? Because it wasn't compelling until people saw that goal thing was going on.
It all comes down to production and public relations.
But it's not interesting to a lot of other people, and you have to get it interesting to a lot of other people.
I think that's horse hockey. Did you ever watch that horrible Sylvester Stallone movie called Victory?
Yes.
Did you see it, John?
No, I never saw it.
It was a World War II prisoners of war. Ended up, it was Michael Caine and Sylvester Stallone, a bunch of other people. Max von Sydow was like some German soccer player. Who
I
was
didn't
now
think
an
it was
officer.
horrible.
Well, okay. It was so Sylvester
But
Stallone
apparently
is
I don't like
basically
Stephen
running
Wright
around like
either.
a football player, and eventually he becomes the goalie on the team. But it's basically POWs against the Nazis.
Okay, so it's kind of like a war-torn version of North Dallas 40.
Yeah. Or
without any of the realism. North
Right.
Dallas 40 was actually a great book, and I thought, a very good movie. But when it... now I lost the whole reason I brought this. No, here it is. No, here it is. So there's a moment in the movie where Max von Sydow, and this happens in a lot of places. William Goldman's written about it. Irwin Shaw's written about it. I can show you 2 paragraphs where somebody is explaining why something is compelling to them, and it's absolutely, if you read it and you're open-minded, you're hooked and you're in. When it became with this movie Victory, he was describing basically Pelé's bicycle kick in the World Cup, right?
okay.
William Goldman talked about his father watching Bronco Nagurski's comeback with the Bears in like the late 30s, where Bronco Nagurski was already retired, but they needed somebody to, and he ended up 3 yards in a cloud of dust, touchdown, win the championship kind of thing. There are things like that I think, and again, this is going to have to come from the booth or from interviews with the players or something like that. You're not going to see it just watching 2 guys throwing at a board.
Right.
All the streaming and stuff that we've done, and John, we've done some. We did PCS matches. We streamed stuff from the New World Dart Series in in New Orleans. I did like some challenge match with Danny Delfino, basically yapping on Facebook how he's going to beat me. We had over 1,000 people watching when all was said and done. That's a good
awesome.
start. But again, without commentary, this stuff is not going to fly. It's not watchable. I don't think, unless you're really dying to see these two guys play, I don't think the stuff on YouTube, like with the Darts Live, is compelling. I think it needs commentary. If they're playing cricket and you don't have commentary, it's nothing but mass confusion.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny. Somebody posted some old cricket thing of these guys I kind of heard of back in the 80s and something, and it was horrible. You can't follow it that way. I mean, you need somebody to kind of like, fill in the blanks for the listeners that aren't experts. And all dart players, by and large, all consider themselves experts, but they're really not. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I've seen guys that can't hit a board giving advice to people. I mean, somehow darts is like that. I don't know how to.
What were you going to say, John?
No, I was going to say, so take that same point and let's take that to the next level and say, okay, who's the top pitcher for the Cubs?
Samardzija.
Jake Arrieta, Jason Hamill,
Yeah.
one of those guys.
Okay,
The
who's
top
the
known
who's the key
name.
hitter for the
The
Yankees?
top known name.
Do you guys have one? He's always hurt, isn't it? Teixeira. He's always hurt.
No, he's
now.
always hurt.
Yeah. Oh, tell me. Well, anyway, whoever it is.
But the thing is, we know these names,
Yeah.
and what we need, if we're going to put this on television, I think we need to pull 16 players, 8 players. I don't care how many players we get, but just go for an entire year with only those players and start building names, start building a following, start sending out press releases to every newspaper out there, and I guarantee the papers will get it and be like, seriously, darts? Because they don't know it. They don't know the passion of the sport. When I worked at the Washington Examiner,
That's a chicken egg thing.
But that's kind of my point. Though.
Absolutely.
When you said darts is compelling, I'm like, but what you have to make
it is when you know it,
compelling
and when you
It's
even
on
scan
prime
by it,
time.
you'll
just
love
by
it.
putting it on TV isn't going to make it compelling to people. And how do you have to not only do we have to get it on TV, but my question basically was how are you going to make it compelling to people?
It's already compelling. The PDC stuff is compelling. There's a working model. It works. They have it on prime time. 100 nights a week. It's more popular
Every Tuesday.
every Tuesday.
If my
Well,
mom
Thursday.
turned into a dart match about the PDC, would she think it's compelling?
I think she would. If she watched it for 5 minutes,
No.
yeah, I think she would.
Not a chance, because she wouldn't know anybody. Of course, my mom's a bad example because
Your mom's a
she doesn't
very
like
bad
any
example,
sports
but
whatsoever.
you know, I'll give you an example. And where are we on break? Do I have time
we're
for this?
ready for
Okay.
a break.
Oh, jeez.
Go ahead.
Already?
Go ahead, real
Well,
quick.
no. I mean, I went to like the local bar to practice because I'm trying to practice during the Hawk games, right? And there are these two guys. One actually, John, was from Baltimore, which is why I asked you how come he couldn't find a dart bar in Baltimore. So these guys are playing cricket, and they've got the good board. So naturally, I'm like, hey, can I play winner? Well, okay. So what do you guys want to play? So we're playing cricket with no points. So 4 minutes later, I play the other guy. 4 minutes after that, I'm like, you guys want to try something a little more fun? You guys want to try 301? And so I explained 301 to them, and they're playing and playing and playing. And, I chalk for them the first half of it. I'm like, okay, here's how you chalk, guys. And then I went out, came back, 15 minutes later, one of them was finally out. But they were hooked. They're like, well, you want to play again? I'm like, yeah, we could play 3 ways, And then I think I ended up taking out like a 69 with a double bull, and their jaws dropped to the floor. And they're like, okay, well, can we finish now? I'm like, yeah, sure. I went out, had a cigarette, came back in. They were done, so we played again. And I asked them when they were done, I'm like, so is this more fun than cricket? And they looked at each other and they're like, yeah, this is way more fun. Because,
Now,
the nature of the
but
game, where
if you
have
told them that MVG against Phil Taylor was on TV when they got home from that bar, do you think they'd watch it?
Well, I wouldn't say it like that. I would say, hey, if you guys want to see some like really good players and you want to see some pros play, it's on, DVR this thing. It's on like 11 o'clock on
Do you think
Tuesdays, and
they'd
they would
watch
do
it?
it. Sure.
No way.
Wow.
No way. Because they don't know who they are.
It doesn't.
It does matter.
Okay,
it makes a huge
if you're going to
difference.
go, well, okay. I think I can sell it.
I just wrote an article last night for the Examiner that says, players that you need to know now, fill who? Because there are a lot of people that don't know who these players are, and sometimes we have to remind them that we have a 16-time world champion out there, and there's no other sport that has a champion that
he's in
good.
England, though.
Correct, but it's still a world. Well, Tiger Woods.
There's a certain sort of like, well, if they're not on this continent, we don't care kind of attitude that you got to get around.
True.
I mean, how many NASCAR fans follow Formula One? They're much better.
Very few, but everybody knows who Mario Andretti is.
Yeah, but they don't know Ayrton Senna, or they don't know some of those other guys. Andretti they know because he came here and raced in Indy. Right? How come the Indy 500? How come we all watch that?
That's nostalgia. Because we watched it in the 70s.
But why was it on in the 70s? I mean, at some point, somebody said, you know what, this is worth watching. And the fact that, 250,000 people go there live is evidence of that. But that's 250,000 people that aren't going to be watching.
I'm not saying it can't happen.
You sound like Debbie Downer today.
No,
what is your deal?
I'm not saying it can't happen. But just to say darts is compelling, you're not going to convince people just to watch a dart game that they're going to think it's compelling.
I have never played darts in a bar in Chicago.
You.
Yeah, me.
I'm trying to take you out of this. That was my whole point.
Okay, the idea of having Ray Charles play Helen Keller in a dart match is not compelling unless it's side bets on whether they hit the chalker.
Well,
okay?
that might have something to do with it.
That may be how it is. I mean, maybe you need to put a bullseye on the chalker's back or on the back of their neck or something.
Take all the people you've played with in league here in Chicago.
Okay.
How many of them do you think watch a dart match?
How many watch one? There's nothing to watch.
They can stream it. They can see them. You do it.
No,
but stagnant streaming is not the same as productive.
I mean, you got to pay for a subscription and all this stuff.
How many do you think, if it was on TV, would watch?
All of them. If you
Really?
had a dart match on in a dart bar during league night, everyone would be distracted watching the dart match on TV.
No, they wouldn't. They'd be wondering where the Cub game was.
Not the dart players, not the serious like gung ho dedicated dart players, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. There are people that may not be able to throw a lot of 1080s that are fascinated, right, and want to get better. And the way to get better is you watch the pros do it. Not everyone, obviously. Like there are guys that like professional baseball players don't watch baseball games on their day off.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure that like there are top players that wouldn't want to watch other top players play because they've played them 100 times and they don't really care.
Right.
And really, the people that we're trying to reach are truthfully not the dart players. We'll get them.
You want to get people
straight up.
Yeah, you want to get the people that are like, hey, this looks kind of cool. I've played darts before. Hey, look isn't this cool? Look,
I completely
professionals,
agree with that.
check out the shirt.
Yes.
What an eyesore.
Nice. Yeah. Why is he wearing an orange?
Like the way I said
Why is he
that
wearing an orange shirt?
Yeah.
All right, let's take one more break. There's so many things we didn't even get to, but when we come back, John, I want to ask about your survey and how that's going and stuff like that. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, we'll be back for another segment. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, who is also doubling as Debbie Downer tonight. Steve Panancium and John Lewis of Elite Dart Players Association. We'll be right back.
That you consume this show at your own risk. You are now and forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo. We're going to have to give a refund on that plug. The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Windy City Fabricators, Redwood Darts, and our guest very patiently listening to us yak, John Lewis from Elite Dart Players Association.
Real quick, this guy in the chat room says he's been hit by a dart while chalking more than once.
Yeah, it happens.
I hope it's from a bounce out.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Of course it is.
Not for
Did I say how I almost nailed this guy?
Otherwise, he's for Helen Keller and
I almost no. I had a. Did I tell you about the guy in Kentucky? This guy was chalking in the round robin. He's standing with his face maybe a foot from the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And I was going for a bull to win like a cricket game or something, and it hit right at 3 o'clock on the inside wire of the double bull. Turned straight left, went between his face and the scoreboard, and landed 3 boards over.
Seriously.
Same thing happened. Joe Devani was in Indianapolis. He hit somebody in the hand 3 boards away. The dart took a left turn, and it just happened to somebody was pulling their darts, and all of a sudden it caught him right in the back of the hand and drew blood. I mean,
that's funny.
You can't script this stuff. Anyway, so, John, you've been very patient. I want to talk about this survey because I know you posted it on Facebook a while ago in the Elite Dart Players Association Facebook group, but I remember seeing it a while ago, and I don't know. I just seem to recall a couple of snarky comments people were making. What's the idea behind what's the idea behind the survey, and what are you trying to? How is that going to help you?
Okay, basically what the survey does is it allows us as an industry to really get a feel for who our players are and where they are, what they do, how they live. We're having worked in advertising. One of the things that every advertiser wants to know, if you're going to reach out to get potential sponsors, to get potential backing for something that's larger scale, we really need to be able to bring data to an audience. So a couple folks that I've been talking to recently, and this actually is what spawned the second version of this, because I did this a couple years ago, and it gave me some really good data to send out to large corporations to potentially sponsor. And it was right after the market had fallen and the economy was pretty much in the dumps. So additional monies for darts wasn't there from them. But they said, we like the idea, check back with us later. So I was meeting with one of my clients who actually owns a chain of vaping stores. And so I'm like, as dart players, we have a lot of smokers.
You mean like the e-cig stores?
Correct.
Okay.
So they really liked the idea. And I said, I haven't really done my survey. Let me go ahead and put it out there again because I'm due, and let's see what the responses are. So like when you were talking about how long some of the things took, a lot of it has to do with between matches. People go outside. They're not close to the boards. They don't know when they're. But if they don't have to leave the area, and they can vape, and it doesn't. You're not affecting anybody from secondhand. I remember I went to the Moose tournament, Moose International, a couple years ago. I walked out, after the tournament, I had to burn my clothes. I'm not a smoker, and I don't care if people smoke around me, but I'm like, you know what? I don't like smelling like that after I'm done. With the vape, you don't have that problem. You don't have, the secondhand carcinogens that bar goers and even other people that would potentially come to watch. Here's where people can actually get something good.
I don't know. I've never even heard it called vaping.
Yeah, I think.
I guess it's probably good that they give it a name that isn't smoking.
Yeah, it's actually water vapor. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going.
That's an interesting. That's a great idea to go after them. I mean, because, Lucky Strike, it was cigarettes that were the big sponsors back in the 90s.
Right. I would love to go after an industry that has money that can be a synergy for what we do. Obviously, in the past, we've gone after like Budweiser and Pabst Blue Ribbon and some of the other alcohol. But again, trying to take it to a professional level, we don't want to advocate to younger folks, bad habits. But I think the vaping, until the FDA figures out what the hell they're doing, they're still trying to classify it in the same venue as smoking, but it really isn't. There's been a number of studies that say that it's not as bad. But that brings up another point of the survey, and it comes to the aging population of the average dart player. We have a large portion of our players survey that says that the 50% of our players are in the 40 to 55 range.
Half of our players are over 40?
Or over 40.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, that's not good at all.
Unless you're selling AARP,
AARP, yes.
Weight Watchers,
right.
I don't know, funeral plots. I mean, I don't know, health insurance.
Coffins.
Well, no, wait a minute. No, there's health insurance. There's some of these. It seems to me that the drug companies, not the drugs, but I mean,
I know, yeah. Prescription.
They almost have to advertise.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, these all seem like potential I mean, thinking outside the box, because, I mean...
I think Viagra and Steel Tip would be a great combination.
As opposed to Viagra and Soft Tip?
Yeah.
They'd probably call it electronic.
You could go, I mean, if you're playing soft tip, have some Viagra, and you'll be playing Steel in no time.
Yeah, okay. The obvious stuff, yeah, okay, there's obvious jokes there that, our audience is way too sophisticated to laugh at. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. If somebody wants to fill out the survey for you, John, how do they go about it?
They can go. I've pretty much given it out to most of the organizations. Minuteman's posted it on their site, any of the Facebook pages, but they can go to. Let's see.
Well, you can post a link on the Dart Talk Facebook page if you want. We'd be happy to pass that along.
Absolutely.
I know I saw it in the Elite Dart Players. I can't even talk today. The Elite Dart Players Association Facebook page.
Yes,
I
that's
know
the main place.
That's the main place. Okay.
And you can even Google, Elite Dart Players Association, and it'll come up there. I also have a website which I need to update. I have not updated my website in way too long.
Okay. Because I was kind of curious. I know when you first started it, you were trying to get some tournaments going, and there was talk about having a PDC-style tournament on the East Coast. Obviously, that didn't happen. Do you have any?
I did have a small tournament that I started running. It was a Mid-Atlantic series because I figured I needed to get, because I hadn't run any tournaments. It was everything that I was doing was all, more 30,000 foot view, and in order to get some credibility, I needed to get out there and get my hands dirty and actually run a tournament so I could see what these folks were going through. And I ran into I had some very dedicated players. I had 24 players in my first tournament. I had 30 players at my second. And then it just started to dwindle to the point where I had like only the 8 that were even in contention would show up. Nobody else would show up after that. And it wasn't supporting the numbers for the payout that I wanted. And because I ended up paying out everything I took in, I ended up paying out. So I didn't have anything saved for the end. So, I had to fall on my sword and say, you know what? This is how we learn.
Okay. What do you got cooking in the near future, far future? I mean, I know you've been like you're the only person I know that actually put out like a strategic plan and stuff like that. What do you got cooking once you're done with the survey?
Well, once this is done, I'm actually working with. I'm sharing the information with Minuteman. I'm sharing it with Anthony. I'm both Eugenia and Marchi, Red Eye Rhino, Dave Irete. So really trying to get this information out to everybody. Because one of the other problems that I see from a funding standpoint is we have all these wonderful tournaments around the country. And you can just pretty much rattle off the names from which city to Vegas to Windy City to Nashville. But one of the things, we have incredible tournament directors that pour their heart out to make these things happen and don't get a lot of times the credit that they deserve. But having that overall organization behind it, we have board sponsors, and I think the most expensive board sponsor is $100 for a piece of paper stapled to a board. Okay. And that raises money, and kudos for being able to raise locally. But in order to go out and get an e-cigarette, to get some of the larger corporations, to get Coca-Cola, to get BMW, to get Volkswagen, Chevy, whoever.
Somebody just suggested Depends in the chat room.
Yeah. Hey, if they're willing to throw money, I don't care who it is.
Right.
But there's an economies of scale that says if I can hire a professional fundraiser, a fundraising company, to go out and say, we have 100 tournaments in the country, across the country. We have an average of 300 players. We have an average of 500 people that show up at these things. Given those numbers, there's no reason why you can't get a certain amount of dollar per participant from a large corporation to reach a target audience. They have money for it. They do it all the time. Magazines do it all the time. And selling advertising.
I don't know if the numbers are big enough. I mean, you're talking about 500 people. There aren't that many tournaments that have that many. I'm thinking like there's maybe 4 that have 500.
Right, that have
people.
500.
Yeah.
But now add them all up.
Yeah, if you add them all up, yeah, the numbers are big.
Right.
I would think
and that's where we need to get to.
Yeah,
that's where the demographics really come in.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have an organization to do this.
Not yet.
Okay. So is that your plan? You want to start an organization that'll kind of do this?
Well, I'm trying. That's kind of part of what Elite was designed for. And again, it's just there's still a lot of work to do. I need to go back and revise the strategic plan. And it's just going to be just an overall. This is it. This is in a perfect world. This is what I'd like to see. And some of it's going to be rubbish. Some of it's going to be, hey, that's not a good idea. Some of it, and I said 5 years ago, if nothing else happens with Elite, but that I raise awareness of things that can possibly happen, whether I do it or somebody else does it, I could care less, as long as it happens, because I love the sport and I want it to be treated as a sport and not just a bar game.
Well, I try to do that. I don't know. Mark's not much help sometimes, but so
Debbie Downer.
So overall, then, do you think things are we better off today than we were, say, this day 2 years ago?
I think absolutely we are. I think there's still a lot of things that are happening. NAPTA is doing a great job. I still think there's things that can be revised and enhanced there. But again, it all comes down to participation and money. You've got Dave Holmes and Bob Seneve that have poured their heart into that. You've got Anthony, and they've got Colin Cosell that does a great job on emceeing some of these things. And I know that there's some things in the pipeline that are coming that I can't reveal yet because of it's not all out there.
It's top secret.
Insider information.
It's top
It's
secret.
it's insider, and I have to respect the knowledge holder. But there's good things coming. There's very good things coming, and it takes a lot of work. And one of the things I've always told my daughters is, you can do anything you want in life, but you can't do it alone. And we just have to keep coming together and throwing it out there. Working on points and even arguing points. And I have no problem with constructive criticism. Throw it at me. And I will concede when needed, and I will fight for what I think's right.
Yeah,
and,
see what sticks. Throw it at you and see what sticks.
No, I think that's the value of true dialogue. Like Socratic or, whatever. I mean, it's like, when people honestly discuss stuff and put their egos aside, I mean, you can come to a consensus relatively quickly. So I don't know. That's hopeful. Yeah. It's a kind of good.
I work with stockbrokers all day. You talk about egos.
Well, John, thanks for coming on. I hope you can come on when the good things are coming on. You can announce it on the show. We'll be happy to have you on.
I would love to. I really appreciate all this and all that you do.
Oh, well, thanks.
Thank
I
you.
haven't done much lately, but
well.
Thanks for coming on. That's going to be a wrap for tonight, I think.
Yep.
You got anything?
No.
You listeners on the audio and stuff, you can always email darttalk@gmail.com if you got questions. And if we forgot to ask something, send me an email, and I'll get it to John if you need an answer to it. Excuse me.
One more time, is Elite Darters
It's
at Facebook? What?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. It's the Elite Dart Players Association.
Elite Dart Players Association.
Yeah, you just
on Facebook.
type it in like you're searching for your friends, and it shows up. It's got a lot of people. It's got like 2,000 darters in it, and I usually post links to the show in there. John's nice enough to let us do that. So, although I didn't do one last week, but I mean, now that we're in one spot and everybody kind of knows where to find the show, I'm thinking I don't really have to, post the links. It's kind of good to tell everybody who's on, but
yeah, right.
I think they're getting tired of the special guest. I should start naming people. Anyway,
keeps it interesting.
You get if you go to darttalk.us, all the old shows are up there, audio and video. We also have a poll that I'll leave open for a little while. We're asking what takes more skill, 301, 501, or cricket. Go ahead, weigh in on that. There's a poll page. And other than that, what do you got? Anything?
Happy May Day.
Yeah, our apologies to Lauren in Pennsylvania. She actually sent me the results from the Ms. Philly.
Oh, really?
And I did not have time to put them in the crawl because I forgot. I had to go home and get the thing. So
yes, you forgot your
That was my
backpack.
bad. We'll have that on next week. And thanks again to John Lewis for coming on.
Absolutely.
He's actually not a bad player. I met him in Virginia Beach once. He's tall. He's like 6'5".
Really?
He's huge. Yeah. He's kind of like built like Adrian Lewis, only, he looks different.
Okay. Well, all right.
And he's older.
I'll go with that.
I'm the good-looking Lewis.
There you go. He's the good-looking Lewis. Thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, if you have any comments, post them or, whatever. We're happy to respond. And thanks again to John. We will be back same Dart time, same Dart channel next week.
A little after party only in the chat.
Yeah, we'll be only in the chat. I got to figure out a way to do the after party because it's not going to work with YouTube Live.
Right.
But the video's better, apparently, so we need to stay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Everybody take care, and we will Dart talk to you next week. If I can find the closing credits, I will play them.